Hello and welcome to this edition of Sunday Night Live. My special guest this evening is Mr. Tully Williams from the Niello Company. And some of you know him, some of you don't. So before we get started into the show, Tully, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your history?
Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks for the invite this afternoon. Well, I started in high school as looking for a job and kind of got in the automotive business that way. Started with, I was in the General Motors Automotive program that got me started with car dealerships. And that's how I got started in the car business, and I've been hooked ever since. Had an independent garage for 14 years where I had tow trucks and a shop of my own. Sold that and then went to work for AutoNation for a couple years, which I felt was a good thing to understand the structure of corporations because they are totally different than what people think. And then I landed a really, really great job with the DGDG, the Del Grand Dealer Group, for 9 years. And now I've been very, very blessed with working at the Niello Company.
Awesome. All right. So we got Ed Roberts says, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Ed.
Sarah. Hello, guys. Mike Vogel, the coach. Hi, Paul. Hi, Tully. Hi, Ed. Orlando Spencer, welcome to you all. And our friend from Sugar Land, Texas is Kenneth.
Kenneth. Oh, absolutely. He's the guy who likes my ties.
That's the guy. That's the guy. We got Annie Lister, John Frazier, howdy, Michael Landis. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
All right.
Thank you so much to come to visit.
So Tully, I love the way you look at a shop and it's almost like magic, right? People walk into a dealership, they see the bays, they see the service drive, they see some customers or they don't, but nobody really knows what's supposed to go on in the place. But you have an eye for, okay, so they've got 16 bays, you've got X amount of technicians, you do some quick calculations, this is what it should be. And then you factor in the quick lane, but make some adjustments, and you know exactly where they should be. And so that gives you an idea as to where there might be a problem. Is it an efficiency problem? What is it? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, the biggest thing is that, and I'll have to give credit to Randy Brinkman. Back in the good old days when the young, I was all about hours per row and gross, and then how wrong was I on that? And about 20 years ago, I was at this class with Randy. He came to our dealership group, and I realized, I'm an idiot, and I have been looking at this the wrong way ever since. So now when I look at a store and look what's happening, even in this crisis that we're in today, I know exactly what a store should do, no matter if you have a tech work 1 day or 100 days. As I try to explain to my dealer, what sometimes he looks at me with funny eyes is, it's not about the money, it's all about the hours that we can sell. And I can go to a store, and in theory, I should be able to tell you the gross down to the dollar or within $100 because we know the gross profit per hour. We'll get into that in a second, how I figured that out. But the deal is do you know your capacity? And then if you know your capacity, you can determine how your store's doing. Do we have a tech problem? Do we have a writer problem? Or do we have I need to get some more hour capacity problem, which is always the fun part. Yeah. And that's kind of where it starts. I mean, that starts with the hour. You know that.
Oh, yeah. It's all about the hours, right? Somebody said that.
Yeah. So I think, hey, well, we'll go basic here is how do I come up with a forecast? And I do have a great sheet that I've used for in the past that I would love to share with all of your guests here tonight that I can email out. It's quite simple. They can always call me and I can walk them through it. But what we want to do is we want to find out the capacity at your store. And that's the key issue. So first is that when a technician at your store, how many hours is he worth per day? I believe a technician does not want to work for 100%. They want to work for at least 110 plus. So I have used 9 hours at my group here. And the previous place I worked at, we actually worked out where we had 10 hours at our Subaru store and at our Hyundai store. I think Japanese imports are at least 10 hours a day. Now we have that set. Now we look at our hourly technicians, and I believe hourly technicians are struggling with doing maintenances So I always cut them in half. And that kind of gives you that little fluff per store. So now I'm going to use 10 hours as a guide, is 10 hours for the tech, 5 hours for the hourly. So now with that inset, let's figure out how many hours the store has to sell. And now we go through, and if I have 10 techs, I add up all the W's or the days they work, which will give you your total capacity. And the great thing about that is now I have this capacity of, say, 1,000 hours. Now let's divide it up to the advisors and how many hours per day. Because when a guy comes to me and says, hey, I sold 50 grand or I sold $5,000 ticket, I'm going, okay, so do we make any money at that? Or how many hours did you sell? I sold 15 hours. Home run. That's an awesome job. And I look at where are we selling the capacity every day? Because hours are like airplane seats. Hours are like ice cream. You can't sell ice cream when it melts, and you can't sell airplane seats after it takes off. So every hour we don't sell, we cannot get back. And I look at it as, let's have an hour, let's have a labor sale. Well, you can't really have a labor sale because it's a fixed expense, a fixed margin. So we have to sell the hours today. So I divide the total amount of hours divided by the total number of writer work days. And what does that equal? That is going to give you the hours per day per writer, which will always be the same. It's only fair. And now, with a little bit of Excel magic, I can tell everybody every day for my entire group, and I have 10 rooftops, is that I can tell every tech what they sold yesterday and where they are in their capacity for that day. And that's not a track, because I know every day if it's a work day or not, because I'm not a tracker when it comes to that. Yeah. And I can tell every advisor how many hours they sold yesterday and where they are on track with their hours forecast. And I believe if we show people what they're doing daily, not monthly, and not kind of weekly, I think you're going to get more from them, because you know what? People want to do the right thing. And if you have that culture in your store, right, you're going to win the battle. So when our guys want to be green and want to do well, because here's the deal, they're going to make more money for them and their families, and God bless America. So we want to show the capacity every day. And do we sell the capacity today?
Well, the great thing about that is that, there are stores where they don't look at things on a daily basis. And then come 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks into the month, panic sets.
Too late.
Right? It's too late. You got to open ROs. You don't know where you're at. You're trying to play catch up on something you don't have enough time to catch up on.
Correct.
So if you look at it daily, you know exactly what you're projecting, and you know what you need to do to make adjustments.
Correct.
When you have the opportunity to do so.
And I think that too is that when you look at a store, as I say, it's not about the gross, it's all about the hours. Because the point of it is that if we know that number, is that do we need more hours? Do we have the appointments for more hours? I mean, there's so much things that we can build into that to make sure your store does well. Now, we've been blessed at our stores that most of our stores are over 100% plus, but we have a struggled dealership that struggled. And a lot of it came down to, it was, I can't do it. Or, it's so bad over here. And we changed a lot of management at that store, and we got the right team in that store. And what did we do? We changed the culture of that store to say, yes, we can. And last month, we were so excited. The first time they've hit green in the last 3 years that I went back to look at it, is that it was a monster win for everybody. And celebration, lunches, hugs, and kisses. Well, kind of in this industry right now, right? But I mean, wow, was it a cool thing. And now guess what happens when they have the confidence? Green is now.
Do it again.
We're going to do it again.
And again and again. We've got a couple of comments coming in here. Let's check this out here. Let's see. Terry says, good evening all. Mike Vogel, Randy Beckman did some great classes for Toyota. John Frazier says, hey, Mike. John Frazier says, interested in hearing your thoughts on advisor pay plans based on sold hours.
God bless you. We'll get there in a minute.
And then we have, let's see here. Annie Lister would like your worksheet.
Absolutely.
So in the comments, you can put your email address so they can reach out to you.
Yep.
Kenneth Dunner, John Frazier, hey. Michael Landis, hey. Russ Mann, hey. Russ Mann is on. All right. Kenneth is shouting out to everybody. Mike Vogel says everything gets tracked daily.
God bless America.
Hours, WIP, open ROs, month-to-date pace, etc. Absolutely. You can't get to where you're going if you don't know where you've been.
And I think that the biggest thing is, and Mike is spot on, is that I believe the more information we give our employees, the better. Now, I'm not talking about every piece of information because we don't want to overload them. But, if there is one or two or three key KPIs that you work for, our biggest thing is, of course, hours. And the next thing is going to be same-day selling. We can talk about that in a second. But if our employees or our team members every day have a website to go to see how they did yesterday, and we want them to figure out their pay plan. We're all human. And we want them to see how much money they're going to make for them and their families. They can figure their pay plan out in about 5 minutes. And now let's get on with business of the day. And then to our technicians, they want to know where they stand in rank. So we have a TV set in our service departments in the shop that I rank our technicians by hours forecast, by recs per inspection, by total number of hours for the year. We're giving some bragging rights for the stores. They have a little competition in there. And it works well because people want to know. And I think a lot of times companies like, oh, we can't tell them that, or we can't tell them that. And then what happens on the 5th day of the next month? What the hell happened over there? Still late to fix it. Just like you said, Paul, we need to worry about that on the 2nd day of the month, not the 31st day of the month.
Now, so it's a web page that they go to.
Yep.
Everybody can go. Does everybody see everybody's digits?
God bless America on that, bro. 100%. And I let them snoop around at all the other stores too.
That's great.
Oh, it's great. Now, technicians, okay, I'll do a little fine thing. Technicians, I do not. I don't, they'll get cranky in a minute. I do push the rankings for all their store to their TV set in their department. Okay. And I do have a ranking for months to date and year to date for all the stores combined, but that's it. Nothing else.
Okay.
Because they're well, I want to work at the Porsche store. I want to work over here in the Jag store. I want to be a BMW. No.
It's not you. It's the brand, right?
You're right. So it's all about the brand because So we want them to be dedicated stores, and they can do just well at stores of their own, and they do. And that's the reason why the focus is on their store. So about every 10 or 15 minutes, the cycle will come up where we'll do the group store. And here's the deal. It doesn't stay on the TV very long. Right? It's a 3-5 second time frame. But the other ones will stay up for like 15, 20 seconds. And that doesn't sound very long. It's a long time. But it cycles through. I have, a whole bunch of sheets that come up.
So how often are these guys logging into this?
Oh, riders, if I don't get the thing updated by 9 o'clock, I'm on everybody's shit list, pardon my French. I mean, I got to get it done. And I do it on Saturday. I get in trouble with my wife because I got to get it done on Saturday too. They want to know where they're at. They want to know if they sold their hour capacity. And then, of course, they look at the dollars. They want to see how they're doing compared to everybody else in their store. The ranking page for the entire group is our most visited. I say 90%, and I'm probably being conservative, 90% of all the service advisors look at it every day.
Wow.
There's a couple of them that, I don't ever look at the information because I'm so good. That's a bunch of bull. You know that.
Yeah, they look.
Oh, they look. You're right. They do.
They probably look more than the other people.
Absolutely. And here's the deal. I only update it in the morning. It doesn't update in the afternoon. And they look at it more than once a day. But that's good. We want them to look. I want them to be nosy. I want them to ask questions. All the writers know me for the most part is that, they ask me questions all the time. They can send me an email. I'll get back to them and I'll call them, do a call with them or something like that, walk it through. Because it's all basic science. And it all basically goes down to where if they don't trust my number, they can figure it out through in our CDK and our DMS system.
Now, I would imagine. So how long have you been using that setup in the stores?
I've done that at the Del Grande dealer group, and I've done that here at the Niello company. And I actually started it when I worked for John Anderson at Courtesy Chevrolet when I was there for 10 years.
So when you went to Niello, this is something you rolled out right away?
Rolled out right away. And here's the fun part is that, Google Sites is a great way to do it where it's, costs you $35 a year or whatever. It's super cheap. And I do everything on Excel and I copy it to Google Sites and you copy it onto a Google sheet and all you do is broadcast the Google sheet. So I copy and paste my Excel spreadsheet into the Google site, and then boom, bam, is there broadcasting, and I give everybody a password to get in. It's super simple. I mean, even if you did it where, You don't have to be exotic like I do. Like I go back and I have all this other stuff, but you can start small, where my very first one was only the current month. That's all I ever had. And I honestly think, I don't think anybody goes back and looks at previous months. I think that's history. I think, as I always say, I don't look in the rearview mirror. I'm looking forward. And I think that I keep it on there just because, I feel like I need to do it, but I don't think anybody pays attention to it. But if I were to give anybody advice is, let's set up, does your team members know? Now, you can have a whiteboard and you write on it, but, I don't think, customers need to see this stuff. Right. And I want them to look at it where they don't have to sit there and look at the board and, like, what are you looking at? Right? They can go to their website. They can look at it at home. They can look at it at their leisure. And if they have questions, they can always email me or talk to their manager about it, because the managers know about it pretty well.
I think when customers see numbers boards, they always get a little bit squirrely, because at that point, they become the number.
Correct. And they're trying to rip me off because they're trying to get to the next level. That's the hours per RO bull, right?
Right.
I always tell everybody, hours per RO. Do you want your family member to go to a person that's on an hours per hour program on the last day of the month and he's 1/10 away? Hell no. Hell no. As I say, you need to make sure you can sell it to your family members before you can sell it to your customers.
It's funny. I'm of the school of thought that if you wow the customer, yep, and you become the guy or the gal that they go to for everything, then all those hours will roll out.
Correct.
And they'll roll out comfortably, and they'll gladly pay it. They may shop you, but guess what? They may shop you to keep you honest, but the final intent is to buy from you. And even if you're a little more than the next guy, I don't think they're really going to care.
I think the price is really irrelevant. And if you're a smart service manager, as a lot of people are, is that you're not going to gouge anybody, because that doesn't work. Right. If you're a new service manager coming out, you haven't figured it out. But the veterans out there, right? The Eds, the Mikes, we don't gouge nobody. We just want the fair price. That's all we want. And we want to make sure that we're priced right on our competitive tire rotations, tires and so forth, and alignments, right? That's a competitive market. Honestly, I just want to break even. And then you look at your maintenance. I want to be competitive, maybe a little bit above, but I want to be competitive, because, if we don't sell maintenance, we're not in business. As I like to say, it's all about the hours, but really it's about, because we're in the repeat and referral business. That's what we are. There's nothing more than that.
Yeah.
We just sell cars, we sell F&I products, we sell parts, and we sell hours, but we really are in the repeat and referral business. So I think that when you look at it, what we can charge the maximum for is stuff that is very specific to our brand. Check engine lights, vibrations, door panels. Nobody's going to take a door panel off of BMW.
Right.
And the check engine light ain't going on. I mean, there's not too many places out there that are going to do that. No matter what brand you are, if you're a domestic or non-domestic, they want to go to the place that has best. Because here's the deal. I like to say to everybody, we're not practicing on your car. We actually been trained by the factory,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Or you get some of these aftermarket shops like, oh, you got to go to the dealer for that.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, no, we don't have the scan tool for that.
Yeah. It is. It's funny as hell when that happens. But, we have to make sure that we do it honestly, because here's the deal. If we believe that we are in the repeat and referral business, a lot of this fixes itself.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Let's see. We have a couple of comments coming in. Let's see here. Annie says, she put her email in here. Thank you. Right now, I track tech productivity.
Good. So here's the deal on tech productivity. I believe that tech productivity is something the technician needs to work on, because we all know that's skinkable, right? Punch in a little early, punch out a little late, punch in this, punch in that. I believe tech efficiency really is for the technician itself to find out how they're doing on the job. And they know that personally, because if you're working on 2 jobs at one time, you can't check tech productivity in the shop. But if I have a forecast set up for that technician, and I have it set up for 9 hours per day or 10 hours per day, and I regulate to that. Now, technicians, do we pay on booked hours? Absolutely we do. Absolutely. But in the long run, the booked hours and everything, it actually comes out to where your closed hours to your forecast will work, unless you have a couple oopsies. And they already know that. But we want them to see the hours they need to get done today. Now, efficiency is, these are the one out you're like, how did you get 15 hours today? You give that guy a hug because he's running at 150%. God bless America on that, right? Or he just got lucky. So I think that efficiency is really good for the technician to know, but that's for them. And for us, we're looking at productivity. I'm looking at, did they produce the hours I need to get out of that stall, or I need to get out of from that person today? So I look at more that side. I do give them that information, and a lot of times they can look at it through the DMS has the ability to look at it if they want to. But I really don't care. I care about the productivity. And we run RTHs. We have CDK. So we run RTHs daily if they want it, but we hand them out twice a week unless someone wants it on a daily basis.
Let's see here. John's looking for the worksheets. Wow, a lot of people want this.
God bless America.
John says, is it an app for use? Is that an app you use for the rankings?
No, it's because I'm stupid and I did it manually on Excel. So I just built a formula. I use Excel. I'm decent at it. So I do the ranking through Excel, and I copy and paste the ranking up every day for the year. And I do the ranking for the technicians and the writers, and I do the forecasting plus grosses. I copy and paste up to the site every morning.
Kenneth says, oh, of course, absolutely 100%. I concur with this one, sir.
Yeah. So think about this, is that when we look at what we are doing on a daily basis and what we track. So I like to say this, is that one is that after you get your forecast, and someone brought up the pay plan program. So I believe most humans work their pay plan. We want them to. God bless America, right? That's what we want them to do. So here's where I feel pay plans have gone awry. And I have been blessed at the last two groups, and especially the Niello company, really to put it in line. So think about this. When you look at a pay plan for a service manager and a parts manager, do they work in sync? Absolutely not. They want to screw each other. Right. Oh, he didn't put the cost in on that. Okay, good. I'll get the gross on that. Right? Whatever. Next is, a lot of times the service manager's plan and the service writer's plan sometimes will actually go against each other, right? Yeah. Well, how does that work? And then the technician's plan is, okay, they're sold on hours. Okay, they're actually the only one that's set up right. And then you have the counter people. They're paid on gross profit. What counter person affects gross profit in the shop? Nobody, because you should never discount on the back counter. So they are librarians. They look up the part, they go get the part, they hand the part out. They can affect efficiency and productivity in the back of the shop so much. So here's the deal. Let's work the pay plan, and let me show you how this works. This is the most exciting part for it to actually work. You must pay your service manager and your parts manager exactly the same way. So here's how I do it. They're paid on hours forecast. Think about this. There is 4 buckets, and each bucket has a yes or no for CSI. So you have 110% and greater. You have 100 to 110%. You have 90 to 100%, and you suck under 90%. And underneath one of those numbers is a percent of gross profit. So example, 10%. I'm just using that number just as a round number. So if you hit 100% of your forecast, I'll pay you 10% of the gross profit. Parts and labor gross off of the statement, all in, parts and service manager. I believe service managers should get a little bit higher percentage than parts manager because they deal with a lot more stuff. Parts managers, 100% agree, but they're still paid the same way. So they're after the same thing. Guess what I want them to do? Every first part of the month, guess what's happened? The parts and service manager are what? Doing the forecast and sending it to me together as a team. God bless America. Next is if they get 110, they might get 10.5 or 10% or 11%. And if they're 90%, they might get 9%. And if they suck, they might get 6%. And I usually take a 0.5% off for CSI. It's not a lot because here's the deal. Ed told me about this a long time ago, right? If you don't get CSI, you're probably not going to work for us any longer. Because, if you make it part of the pay plan, then your culture's not set up right to have CSI in your store. So at both stores, we did have a little bit. It's like $500,000. The writer's like $500. The service manager's $1,000. Sometimes, these service managers are making a potload of money. Like, yeah, I ain't gonna worry about $1,000 right now. But here's the deal: as if we're running a store that we would want our family members to come to. CSI needs to be the highest standard in part of the culture. Now I have the parts and service managers pay plan done. Let's work on the service advisors. Exactly the same pay plan, exactly as the service managers and parts managers, except the gross profit is on the ROs they write. All in. I don't give a shit what's on the repair order. All in, 100%. Whatever if you run a report out of CDK or rentals or dealer track, whatever gross profit they have, I'll pay a percentage off it. If you don't want them to write internals, don't give it to them. I believe you should have an hourly internal writer anyway. So that's beside the point. So now my service manager, parts manager, and service advisor are paid exactly the same way on the same pay plan, except the percentages are different. Technicians, always paid on hours. But now the foreman. So now you look at foremans and team leads or whatever you have set up in your store, is that they get they get 5 cents an hour or whatever. What happens is that when you grow, you get your cost crazy out of that. So now all of my team leads and foremans at my stores are paid off. Their bonus is paid off of hours forecast, and we give them a dollar amount for that. So if you hit 110% or greater, they might get $1,000 or whatever it is for that store. Every store is a little different. So now I'm going to say it one more time after this, technicians, foremans, team leads, service advisors, parts managers, and service managers all on the same pay plan. What's left? Back counter people. Yes, I said it, the Holy Grail. Parts people are going to be involved in the fixed ops department. So what do? I pay them hourly, and their bonus is based off of the hours forecast. And they get a lump sum, and it's about 1/3 of their pay. So if they hit 110%, they might make $1,000 or $2,000. God bless America. Because here's the deal. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tear up here in a minute, but we've had stores say this, and I want to record one so I can always have it to prove to everybody, is here we were, and it was a couple months ago in this BMW store. They had like 2,800 hours to get for that month, and they were worried they were not going to get it. They had a job it was a Saturday, was the last day of the month, and it was a big job, and they were just doing up the brakes to get it done. What would normally a parts person say? Can't get it. I'll get it on Tuesday. So no, he said, oh, is this job? This could get us over the top. He stopped, called another dealer, jumped in his personal car and drove and got the brakes, got it back, put him on the car, got the RO closed, and they came in over 100%. This is called teamwork. So everybody benefited from that. And that guy got a humongous, hands down, God bless America. And we told everybody in the entire dealership how a fixed ops team truly works.
That's a team.
That's a team.
I mean, how often do you hear complaints about, between service and parts? Oh, I can't get my parts. This guy's not at the counter. Or I asked that guy an hour and a half ago. Not in that kind of culture.
And parts guys, no offense, please. But, sometimes they just don't give a shit. Right. And I think that, they need to understand that they are a crucial element. They might not be the superstars they think they are, but without parts, we can't sell ours. All we can do is diagnose cars. There's no money in that. So here's the deal. They are a crucial part of the puzzle, and we don't want to leave them out, but we want them to benefit when the store works, not just overgrossing somebody. I have care less about the gross profit. I'm going to hold the parts manager to margins. Yes. I am not going to hold the back counter people to margins whatsoever. It's like holding, everybody says, well, your margins are low. Your service writers are giving discounts. Really? Do you track discounts? Are you giving that much away? Are you allowing them to change the sale amount on every job? Shame on you. It's the service manager that's causing the grief on margin. If 9 times out of 10, it's the service manager head up his butt.
And can't you lock that down in the DMS?
Absolutely, if you want to. But here's the deal. I believe if we have great culture, and they get what they're doing, I don't need to lock it down anymore. And we don't lock it down. And if someone starts getting a little aggressive and I see a little bit, because I track margins. Hello, yeah. We all do. But I don't tell anybody. And I see one that's going off the slippery slope, we have that conversation. And I tell the guys, I'll be more than happy to talk to the rider. I know what you're doing, bro. Let's stop it.
Well, one of the things I love about CDK, and I'm sure Reynolds is probably the same way, you can run your exception reports. So who's falling within the margins, who's not, and who to have a conversation with.
Right.
and who doesn't. But
And you know what?
the way everybody's set up, everybody's pulling the rope in the same direction.
Correct.
You don't hear that in a lot of places.
No. And I think that, and that's where to me the hours thing came in, like 20 years ago when I realized how much of a moron I was for the previous, before that 20 years, is I think that this is the only thing that fixed ops brings together is the hours piece from parts and service together, no matter if you're a parts person or a service person, a writer or a tech, a counter person, or even a porter. If you're going to pay a porter on bonus, don't pay him on CSI. Don't pay him on car washes. Pay him on your hours forecast, right? Because here's the deal. I want writers. I want technicians. I want everybody to go home tired. Because I like technicians. I want them to go tired and rich every day. I want the parts guys to run the parts out there because they realize the more hours I get out of these guys, the better chance I have to get my bonus at the end of the month.
That's just a brilliant recipe, man.
It is.
That's a brilliant recipe because I can tell you of many places I walk into, that is not how it works.
No, it doesn't. No. And I think that, when everybody works as a team together, I think that your store culture is so much better because the prima donnas, I don't like prima donnas. If you're a store and you sell 100 million hours and you're an ass, you got to go, right? I'd rather have 3 or 4 guys that want to work there and not be 150 and be 110. I'm much happier with that.
Yeah. Let's see if we have any comments coming in here. Let's see. Russ Mann says, great culture to want the team to know and see the rankings page every morning. Nice. Ed Roberts, transparency. I love it. That's like one of the biggest buzzwords today, transparency.
And you look at transparency on that. I think that is that you look at stores and we haven't, I hate to say this, but we probably weren't publishing the truth because we were all this gross and rip and tear. And, that's not the way it is. That's the 70s and 80s. That's not 2020. And I think that when you look at, when they know that you're being honest and there's a way for you to verify, so they can go on the DMS and verify it. And then after they realize you have the right thing for the last 4 or 5 months, they don't go to the DMS anymore. And, so the thing of it is that when they know you're right and they can see what happens every day, you're going to get that build up. Because now when you have your team huddles, if you have huddles daily, which I think are great. And huddles are 5 minutes, get everybody together, hurrah, hurrah. What are you going to talk about in the shop? Open repair orders. What job is, dangling because something's broken, whatever. Is it parts? Is it because of me? It's because of whatever. And 2 is that we want to talk about tech recommendations, right? And that's what we talk about every day. And then we have our official tech meeting we might do once or twice a month. And then service writers, those team huddles that, honestly should happen like hourly. No, it seems like, all right, is that, are we open repair orders? And 2 is that, are we selling our capacity? And what can I do to help you sell better? Because I believe that service advisors are the hardest working people at a store. And we've got to make it easy to do business, and easy to do business in 2 ways. One, is it easy to do business as a service writer? If you ever looked at it, and when you talk to people like, oh, we have this great little, widget and this widget and this widget. And if you look at someone's screen, they have how many widgets open? 20 of them. Well, the computer doesn't work because it got too many damn widgets open, right? And then 2 is that we want to make it easy to do business on our client side or a customer side, because if it's hard to do business, they're going to go somewhere else. And this is where we need to work hard as a group and saying enough's enough with our vendors and ask for the right stuff. I grind the hell out of vendors. They're like, Tully, you're just so advanced. No, I'm not. Every service manager wants the same thing. We want it to be easy. That's what we want. We want it to be easy to do business with us. So the more we ask, the more we demand, the better products we're going to get. And I think that we've seen some of those products come out today. I think they've come out way too slow, but we're seeing products that actually do a decent job. And God bless America for those great vendors that are doing it right. And there's some vendors that, don't get it. And you know what? They're going to go away after your contract's up.
Let me ask you a question on some of the technologies. Utilization. Utilization seems to be spotty in a lot of stores.
Correct. So I look at this. So what I track here besides hours is how are we using our driveway processes? And so we have X Time and CDK service. So I'm not here to bash one or the other, but I'm sure most of you know what my. We have them both, and we're working towards one of them. So I'll be nice. I'll be nice. But here's the thing: if I have a product, we need to use it. So here's a great example. How often should we do an inspection on a car?
How about every time?
But every time is right. Right? And if it has 1 mile or if it has 4 billion miles on it, how many inspections are we going to do on that car? Every time.
Here's the killer part. Right? There are some stores, cars got less than 10,000 miles, they don't do it. Why? Why?
Because here's the deal. What's the best inspection to show the customer?
The green.
The green one.
Hey, this is great. This is what we do. You condition them to how it works. So they expect it. And by doing it every time, the person behind them in the drive, they're less apprehensive about going through it because they see that you care enough to do it for everybody. And let it be that one customer that you don't do it for. Now they're thinking, oh, why aren't they checking my car?
Correct. And I think too is that as we build that inspection process and when they actually trust us, and if we do an inspection every time, should we have surprises?
Not really.
Not really, no. Breakage is the only surprise. Something broke. But here's the deal. We need to tell them about yellows. Should we sell yellows? I don't believe in selling yellows, except for tires. And some people say, I'll wait till it gets red. Okay. But here's the deal. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to tell them the price. You're just going to say it's not necessary today. And some people say, I got to have it fixed. God bless America for every one of those. Yeah. But I think that you want to educate so there is no surprise. Like, oh, this place always tries to sell me stuff when I'm in there. No, I'm just telling you what's wrong with your automobile. And if we tell them every time, we say the last inspection was blank and this inspection is blank, this is where technology needs to be our friend. To our technicians, is it hard to look at the last inspection? Because, I've heard that there's this water they pour on brake pads that grows them. I haven't found it yet, but it has happened, right? And it's good to have have it where we can go back and look at the previous inspection easily so we don't have this growing water problem.
And here's the great thing about every inspection, every time. There are things that happen that wear out at 30,000 miles. So if your car comes in every 5,000 miles, that means that 5 times you're told something is good, or towards the end, getting closer to, so that at that 6th visit, they're expecting it.
Correct. And they, in fact, half the time, because we're going to send them a reminder of the decline, right? That it says that you have some yellow brakes just to let you know. Half the time they, oh yeah, you already sent me that thing about it. It's, it's $372. If it needs to, go ahead, right? But here's the thing. I've told them about it. I want to tell them about it. I want to make sure that we have yellows. And here's the thing. I don't think there's too many yellows out there.
No.
I hate technicians that have the yellow box. In fact, when I work on the inspection part of it, part of my flexibility with the program is that I take yellows out of stuff because there's no such thing as a yellow air filter. Right. It's dirty or not.
That's it.
There's no such thing as a tire balance yellow. No, there's not.
Right. It's either in balance or not.
Correct. Now, oil leaks, absolutely. And I like to rank those 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 based on what the service manager likes. It's a ranking 1 to 5, and then we can predict which ones are yellow. Brakes and tires, yellow, absolutely. Coolant leaks, no yellows.
Right.
Wheel bearings loose, no yellow. So I think that you really have to work it down to make it easy for the technician. And the biggest thing is Les Silver. He's been on a lot of stuff lately, but Les Silver is the one that invented all this stuff. I was a Les Silver fan back in the 90s when he came out with his program, and we paid all the money. But we were so happy because if you believed in the inspection and believed in its ability and made it easy for the technicians, it works well.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the full inspection every time.
No.
And communicating that.
Correct. And I think that, as these programs start to evolve and, these vendors are getting better and better, is now the technician makes those inspections. And I believe we should pay the technician for the inspection. I just believe that if you want a quality inspection, you ask them to do it for free. Yeah, they're going to slam dunk it and they're going to have a bad attitude. So we always pay 2/10 on every inspection. I don't care what it is. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Get over it, right? 2/10 is not a big deal. So the next thing is that after we get those great inspections, how easy it for the technician to check box, make it easy to do it, and then submit it to the parts department so they can get the parts estimate on it. And some of that is challenging in some of these programs. And I think that, you know, when you're in the bubble at a programmer and you're not thinking like a technician, they, you know, click here and you click that, and you click this and you click that, and you hit send, and you're like, oh, this programmer's like, oh, this is no big deal. A technician, 2 clicks, their attention span's done. Well, this is too hard. I ain't making no money over here. You know, it's got to be easy. And some of this stuff, I mean, I'm thinking about, you know, the first time we did something with one of our programs is that we had to click it 10 times to submit the completed inspection. And I'm thinking, what were you guys thinking today? This needs to be 2, maybe, you know. And
by the time you're done with your CDK service, you've got everything right there.
Correct.
Parts, tax, labor availability.
So CDK service, you know, the great thing about it is that, you know, they have their time guide that has everything built into it. But the problem is it's harder for technicians to use. It's a little bit difficult. So there's a lot of training involved in that. But, you know, my goal is that I want to make it easy for the technician to do inspections. I want them to go back and look at the inspections, right, of previous time they've been in here. I think it's good for them to look at it. And then the next step is it easy to submit to the parts department and move on. I believe pictures and video are great. I think video is a novelty. I don't think video sells anything. I know I'm going to get yelled at, and that's okay. It's just my opinion. I love video, though, because people love to see their car. They love to see underneath their car. I used to have a Chevy when I was at Courtesy. I used to have Corvette club meetings. All we did was raise a car up on the rack so they could walk underneath it. That's all they wanted to see. So my thing is that if people want to look at their video of their car, great. But you know what? You can't show a leak. It's very hard. You know, it's good for, you know, brakes and tires. But you know what? We can do both. Here's the deal. But the good thing about it is that the software have the ability to do both. Send the video, send the pictures. Pictures are going to be tied to the estimate, right? With the dollar amount, so we can, you know, market that person for them. But I think when you look at a quality inspection is how do we continue to mandate that we have quality inspections done? And here's this is the big thing, is that if we're doing inspections and we're slam banging them out, or, you know, back in the day used to be the pencil whip, then we are doing a massive disservice. So under recommending and over recking to me are the worst things you can ever do for repeat and referral business. So I believe it is mandatory that we all look at technician recommendations on every person. Your recommendations per are 3 recs per with a mileage band. Because here's the deal. 3 recs at 10,000 miles. Is that a little aggressive? Way too many. In fact, I don't, you know, does it need any? But if if I'm working on a, you know, God bless America, Jag Land Rover, you know, they do break, you know, God bless America, you know, and I hate to tell you.
How the list if you flip the list upside down, I think dependability, right?
Correct. But hey, people love them. God bless America. I love the car too. But here's the deal. If you have one with 90,000 miles on it, wow, it's probably going to be more than 3 recs per. So your goal is part of my monitoring when I look at their hours is we look at the recommendations per, and then we give them their mileage band. Because if you have guys at 60, 70,000, here's the deal. If you're looking at your mileage, and this is a good way to look at retention, you know, you can always, you know, we rely on the manufacturer, which, you know, honestly, I don't really believe that information. But that's the only thing we have is, and I know that X-Time's working hard on standardizing that, which I will be very helpful with, because I think that if we have a third party that does it a certain way, then that's the gospel, right? But if we look at our recommendations and your average miles at 40, are you retaining customers? No. And if you look at some of our great brands like Volkswagen, Porsche, they're like at 70, 80,000 customer pay inspection. That's a huge number.
Yeah.
You know? And you look, some of them are at 40 or 50. I'm like, what are you guys doing over here? Yeah, this is not a new dealership. So I think that when you look at the mileage band, so now when we look through it, we talk about it at our tech meetings, is we go over technician recommendations. They know the brand better than I do. So, you know, at a Volkswagen or a Porsche or a Land Rover or BMW or a Chevy for that matter, it doesn't matter what brand it is, the manager should know about what the rec should be. You know, when I was at Chevy, you know, I knew that it needed a transmission service it needed this and that. So at 60,000 miles, I think it was 3 recs back in my day. And I tell you, if anything was under 3 recs, I would ask. So now when we do our huddles and we do our team meetings is that we talk about who's doing great on their hours production, but then all is how are we doing our recs per? Because without recs per, our poor service writers have nothing to sell. Because I'm an anti-flusher, by the way. I don't do nothing.
All right. I want to jump to a couple of questions, and then I have a question for you as well.
Yep.
All right. So let's see here. Yes, Paul. Mike Vogel. Yes, Paul. Positive customer relationships will lead to hours now and in the future. Ed Roberts. Retention. Anthony Nicotera. Would it be more effective to have an app with live data synced with CDK so KPI results are in real time with alerts throughout the day when not meeting plan?
Tell you, I'm just a dumb fix guy. But if I was starting over again, I would build that in a heartbeat. I know that, back in the AutoPoint days when I was on their board and Silver was there, is that they had it set where it would page you, or back then it was pages, but then it would or text you when the recs per were below a certain threshold on a mileage band. So when what they did is when the tech was going in there doing it, they would page me, and what I'd do is I'd walk out to the tech. How's it going out here? Just fine. How you doing on this car? Doing great. Really? How many recs did you have on that car? Well, really, what?
Scott Joseph says, I'm going to tear up, smiley face. Without parts, we can't sell hours. Exactly. It's a 1-to-1 ratio.
100%.
Mike Vogel says it's really easy to run daily CPROs sorted by GP, and those discounts will stick out like a sore thumb.
So let me just mention that to Mike, is that what we do on discounts, and Mike is spot on, is that we track one of our KPIs is the percent to gross on discounts. And we like it under 5%. I don't want to be a dictator type service manager. I don't want those people working for me, but we do want the service writers to be the ability to discount necessary. Now there's limits inside CDK, which is very blessed. But what I do is that every day I do run my discounts and I publish that on the website so they can see where they're at. So if they start getting high, they should self-check themselves down like, oh, I think I'm giving too much away. So good point on that.
Anthony Nicotera, love it. Dave Foy, monitor daily, adjust hourly, coach constantly. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Ed Roberts, everyone is pushing in the same direction with the same goal in mind. That's what I love about your pay plan.
Amen, Brad.
Mark Williamson, you are on it, Tully. Everyone has to know the score every day.
Absolutely.
John Frazier, how are you tracking TAC recs and ASRs?
Software does that for us. So if you have CDK service, if you have rentals, if you have X-Time, if you have AutoPoint, they all have the ability to get the number of recommendations. So do this. Even if they're not super advanced. So I have this problem with CDK on this, but I still get what I need out of it, and I'm happy, is that you can run a list of all the recommendations by technician. And I don't care how many there is, and I don't care about the RO. So if I have 50 recommendations and I have 50 ROs that he worked on, it's 1 rec per. I do want to know yellows and reds. And this sometimes I have challenges with software on that. But I think that yellows and reds, because I don't want a technician yellowing everything. I don't think that's a good thing.
David Foy, every MPI should give a warning if brake and tire measurements are more than the previous visit.
100
CRM warnings about mileage.
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable.
How can that be? That's that water. That makes it grow, right?
Exactly. And I think that, and I know they're working hard on this, and I think AutoPoint got it, but if you have the CDK drive over, and I know Tire Profiles, Doyle's company, is that I want that to feed that into the program automatically, and the technician would just have to say yes and verify it. And I think that would help us in that scenario. Technology should be our friend, not our enemy.
Absolutely. Leverage the technology to become more efficient.
Absolutely.
John Frazier says, amen. Pay the tech for the MPI. Mike Vogel says, saving their old parts will give you more credibility than a video ever will. That is absolutely true. I've done that for years.
Absolutely.
Now, everyone can yell at me, Tully. Anthony Nicotera says, how many steps does it take when doing an inspection to get the completed parts and labor quote, or is it instant from the data in the inspection? It's instant in CDK service.
Kind of. You still need to send it to parts to verify, because a lot of times is that, a water, and I'll use a water pump as an example, is that it needs more than a water pump. It might need coolant. You can build these kits. But I believe that if your parts department is spot on and believes that I am here to service the technician, and I'm here to service and get parts to the technician so I can sell more hours, so I can make more money for me and my family, the whole baloney goes away. And I think that what will happen is that no matter what program you use, good parts people can make recommendations go fast. I'm amazed when you have a super guy in the back counter. They are just like worth their weight in gold.
But the software also recommends associated parts.
Correct. It does. And I know that, some of the, the non-DMSs have a struggle with that. So when you have the CDK service piece and if you use a service pricing guide, 9 times out of 10, the parts guy, he just verifies it and boom, done. Looks in the comments for the technician, make sure there's nothing needed.
Yeah. Linda Hanson, like your view on flushes. Why don't you like flushes?
Okay, let me ask you this. Would you flush your mother's car? Would you put all that crap in there? Power steering flush? Tell me, really. Would you really do that? No. I'm sorry, Mock. Sorry, BG.
But it's in the book.
You make a good product to do the carbon, yes, but I'm not going to flush a transmission. I do service transmissions. I know I'm going to get yelled at here, but I tell you, it's a me thing.
A lot of trannies are now sealed, right? And
Correct. And here's the deal. I believe the manufacturer. So when I say I want to do what the manufacturer says, I want to open up the manual and not be called a liar, right? Because when you go to a car dealer now. These are dealer recommended services. No, those are dealer flush recommended services. I just, I don't want to piss anybody off, but I am an anti-flusher. And I've ran a lot of back when I had I ran a Chevy store. I was a humongous anti-flusher nailer guy. I had a picture of a toilet, whoosh, with money going down it.
Russ Mann says, Mike Vogel agreed. I want to see the old part. Great trust builder for next time. Absolutely. John Fraser says X-Time has notifications for no wrecks.
Yep.
Also says, was just wondering which piece of software, but you answered it. X-Time is my favorite. And Mike Vogel says, Tully, agree 100% on the discounts. Now, I have a question for you.
Yep.
Good inspections by the techs.
Yep.
There are a percentage of advisors that for whatever reason don't do the recommendations to the customer.
Well, that's the last piece. Great, thank you. So that's one thing we haven't touched on yet. And here's what I coined that as: same day selling, or I guess you should say same RO selling, but I like same day selling. It sounds better. And here's the deal. And this is what I love going to 20 groups and tell everybody that I want to lower my effective labor rate, my hours per RO. Because if we're in the maintenance program, what do? Lower effective labor rate and hours per RO. Oh my God, we have just bent up all 20 groups everywhere. But here's the deal. When you look at service advisors, what are they selling? They are selling recommendations that the technician gave us. They're selling the maintenance that the customer wants and the car demands, and they're giving recommendations on maintenance products on that car that are needed. So how do we track that? And I say we track it by same day selling. And I believe that you have the big four, and the big four are tires, brakes, batteries, and maintenance. Why did I say those four? Because we're in the referral business. And those are your defection points. And if we don't sell those, we won't have any customers left. And then we want to track. I try to track it about 7 or 8 different categories. You can't get too granular. Now, here's the thing we want to look at is that if you have a service advisor that's selling at 70% red brakes, God bless America. But if you have a person selling at 30% red brakes, these are brakes that are red.
Right.
We need to ask why. Well, these brakes are so expensive, or I don't know how to sell brakes. Whoa. This is something we need to track on a daily basis so we can help that service writer, because I believe in coaching and mentoring, not termination. We're in the hiring business, not the firing business. How do we coach and mentor those people to make more money for them and their families? So to me, the holy grail is Starts with great tech. It starts with great recommendations from our world-class technicians, and then we give those great recommendations to our world-class advisors to sell those same-day sellings. And I believe that if we track the right ones, then we'll get great repeat referral business because we know we're selling those. And if we have a problem, we'll catch it super fast because we want to track this on a daily basis.
And if you've earned the trust and you've earned the respect, it's not up to the advisor to determine what to pitch or not to pitch. You're not really pitching it. You're merely communicating what the customer came in for and what you've uncovered in your safety inspection.
And if they're a regular customer, they're not going to have 20 items.
Right. Because you've done your job along the way.
Correct. Now, if it's a one-time customer that came in, he's got 1 million miles on it, you might have it. But you know what? Guess what you're going to do? This is going to be a long list. But remember, we don't have to do everything today.
Right. There are degrees.
I know we're running out of time. But I want to do the last thing about hours. So in the very beginning, you mentioned about how I can look at a store and find out what they're going to do. So I want to say this. How do we know and track where we're going to be at the store level? So what I do not like is calculator budgets. You did 400,000 times 10% is. Okay, that doesn't work. So I believe this. Figure out your gross profit per hour and parts gross profit. Let's do this together. Look at the financial statement. Add up everything on the service side, everything. Cost of labor, all in. Go to the parts statement. Add up everything on that statement. Take out your discounts and fluff money. Take out counter and wholesale, everything that's been on a repair order. Add those two together, divide by the hour, and guess what I have? Parts and labor gross per hour. So now, if I know my budget, my hours forecast is, guess what I have? The exact dollar amount that I should get. And you look at margins. Do margins go up and down a lot? Not really, unless you're making a huge mistake. So right. When you look at an average of and I like to believe you look at a 3-month or a 12-month average of this, and you can look whatever you want to do, is that our group is 166.13 gross profit per hour. So when you look at a technician standing around for 30 minutes, it costs you over $80 in gross profit. So when you look at and you go into a store and diagnose what the problems are, is turn it into how are your technicians. Now, this is a service and parts manager GM call. This is not service writers, technicians, because I'm talking about dollars and cents because we are a for-profit company. We're not Red Cross. Yeah. So here's the deal. We want to know, where is our leakage? How do I know my budget's going to be? How can I prove to somebody how important a technician is when he produces $166 per hour gross profit? And now you can look at your budget and you can budget your store to know exactly what you're going to have. If it's a February with less days in it, it doesn't matter. You add up the forecast, you times the amount, and I'll be within $10,000. I mean, we do like $1 million, 2 million or whatever the hell it is. It's super close. And what I like to look at is I talk about it when we talk about it. We have a weekly call with all the service and parts managers. Is if my forecast hours is higher than my forecast for gross, what's happening? Gross erosion. If my forecast for hours is less than my gross profit forecast, I've increased margin. So well, guess what I can do in 2 seconds? He's 109 and he's 111. Love that guy. 110% and he's 100%. He's losing margin. Let's work on that today, not tomorrow. Let's work on that today and find out. Now, does he have a rash? Did he have a coupon out there? Okay, I'm good with that. But overall, we should be close. And it's a fast way to look at your budget, find exactly what's happening, and get the pulse of your shop by looking at your KPIs for the first 20, 30 minutes, and then let's move on, get your ass in the driveway where it belongs.
You run the shop like a Fitbit.
I've never heard that before.
It monitors everything and it puts it all on the screen.
God bless America.
Let's see. Linda says there's a huge amount of trust between techs and advisors.
Yes.
So we're at the time. If there's any other questions, now is the time to ask it before we before we say goodnight to another episode. And I think that's about it. Tully, I want to thank you very much for an educational, informative, and entertaining show tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very good.
Paul. You're appreciated.
And we'll see you guys next week on Sunday Night Live. And those of you who are part of the Fixed Ops Mastermind, we'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week.